Welcome to Before Floor, the pregame edition of Five on the Floor, brought to you by the Five Reasons Sports Network. I'm your host, Jonathan, aka Three Piece Combo. I'm joined by Mr. Marco _ Romo, and of course, boss man, Mr. Ethan J. Skolnick. Now, as always, guys, if you're new joining us during the playoffs, make sure you guys subscribe to the Five Reasons channel. You'll get all your Miami Heat news, interviews, post-game content, pregame content, even playback content, so you can watch live with us as well. So we'll have the link for that for you as well. Make sure you guys like the video, and make sure you guys follow all of our social media. Now, as always, Mark Brown is our primary sponsor. Ethan, you want to tell us about our friends over at Mark Brown?
Yeah, I was just talking to him today, actually, because I needed a change to my estate plan. I'm cutting somebody out. No, I'm just kidding. You can find him at markbrownpa.com. He's the man who can help you build a better future. Seriously, if you have a child, make sure that if you are working hard for your money, which we know you are, that money goes to the right place if something happens to you. You don't want to leave your child in the lurch. You don't want it in probate. Reach out to Mark Brown. You can find him in North Lauderdale, markbrownpa.com. That's with a C, markbrownpa.com. Also, he's a real estate attorney. He's got a title company right there in-house. He can help you with your closing, also bankruptcy situations, all kinds of different stuff, foreclosures, etc. He's the guy to go to, markbrownpa.com. Again, you can find him at 954-566-5678. Mention Five Reasons, and he'll take extra special care of you, but he takes care of everybody. So reach out to Mark, and also a huge Miami Heat fan. So he's in tune with this, as are the rest of us, as the Heat are now 1-0 in their series in Milwaukee.
Who's joining us on Playback tonight? I got the Playback tag running across the bottom. Who's joining Playback tonight?
The whole damn world. We've got Marco, you're on there. You're on there. I'll be on there at some point, probably for a quarter or two. We've got Alex, we've got Brady, we've got Greg, we've got Gabe, we've got Sean, we've got Brian, we've got Ben, we've got the whole crew on there. So we've got to get you on there at some point, Jonathan. I know it's a TV connection issue, but we'll get you on there eventually. But yeah, check out Playback. This is where you can watch the game with us, and you can comment with us and chat with us. Sometimes we bring you to the stage. It just becomes a real casual good time. Sometimes we had more than 150 people watching with us in the last game at all times, actually, throughout the show, more than 400 the entire time. So come check it out. Go to playback.tv. It's now playback.tv/5RSN. We changed it yesterday. I forgot to tell you, Jonathan. So it's actually 5RSN, playback.tv/5RSN. And that's because we're going to do more than just basketball content there going forward. In fact, probably do some MMA fights there. So you and I have to have a conversation about that. But tonight, Heat Bucks will be on there for that one.
Heat Bucks Game 2. We'll have prize picks for you. Make sure you use that promo code 5. We'll touch back on that when we get to our prize picks. But let's talk about tonight's game. Obviously, Game 1, super eventful because the Milwaukee Bucks lost Giannis for the game, and maybe he's still questionable as of right now for tonight, maybe even tonight's game as well. But then we also had the loss of Tyler Hero, breaking his hand, diving for the floor. So offensively, this game and this team is going to look a little bit different. Coach Spo is going to be forced to make adjustments that he wasn't going to have to as more. What are some of the biggest adjustments do you expect Coach Spo to have to make? And what do you expect maybe some of the counters that he's going to pull if some of those changes don't work out, Ethan?
Well, I'll defer to Marco on some of this too, but I think there are really four options at the starting spot tonight. And I have a hunch which way he's going to go based on his history. I don't know if it's necessarily the one the Heat fans would pick. So my hunch is he's going to start Duncan Robinson. And I think he's going to do that. First thing, he kind of tipped it by doing it in the second half of Game 1. Now, he could make a switch with a couple days to prepare. He's done that before. But I think it's more about keeping the bench rotation intact. So if I know there's going to be concerns about Duncan and Strus playing defensively together, but it's not like Strus and Hero was all that much better. And I just think that he wants to keep Love, Martin, and Lowry together. That group has actually been very good, regardless of who they've paired them with. And there's a comfort level there. So the other options, he could put Kevin Love as a starter and move Max Strus to the 2, which means he'd probably bring Cody Zeller off the bench, or he could bring Haywood Highsmith off the bench. The other thing he could do is he could start Victor Oladipo. That's a guy you could pull out of mothballs, but then you're changing the way the offense looks because he's going to pound the ball a lot, and there's not much spacing there. And he's had trouble. Honestly, he's played well when nobody else has played, but when he's had to play with others over the past 6 weeks, it hasn't been great, and that's why he lost his rotation spot. And the other option is he could start Caleb Martin. But again, if he does that, he probably got to pay Highsmith off the bench. But the other thing is that he doesn't really have enough wings at that stage, and then you're playing Caleb and Jimmy together, and you're also breaking up your bench core. So I think I think Heat fans would lean towards Caleb because he's been one of their more consistent players, and he was good the other night. I think it's probably going to be Duncan.
Yeah, I remember when, back when Ray Allen was getting hurt and Mike Miller wasn't getting minutes. That's what Coach Spo would do. He would go to Mike Miller, a guy that was on the back, or it might have been Mike Miller, it might have been James Jones, but one of those two guys. He would go to the guy that's on the back of the bench that just gave you that reliable three-point shooting and just try to keep that offensive flow going for that starting lineup. Like you said, he doesn't really like breaking up the bench, and if you thin out that bench too much, whenever it starts getting deep, it's going to be tough for Miami just to especially defend with all the offensive threats that Milwaukee has. Marco, what are some other adjustments maybe defensively that you think Miami makes tonight?
Defensively, I don't think there's very much of a difference they're going to have, depending on if Giannis is playing. Obviously, if Giannis is playing, it's going to be a lot of obviously the wall, at the free throw line and below. Because I think to start that game, even when Giannis was playing, the Heat were doing a good job of pretty much keeping everybody in check. People forget he left with like a 22-12. Miami had a lead like that. So I like what Miami did in that first half in terms of what they were doing with Giannis. It was really just letting him go one-on-one with Bam, not bringing too many doubles. But when they did bring the doubles, it was timely ones. That's what they do with Joel Embiid too. They don't try to, make it an easy double every time, because that's what the Nets are doing. You see how easy that is to pick apart because you're being so oversimplified in your doubles that it's so easy to pick apart because they know when it's coming. Miami's a better team than that, better or smarter team than that, because they know that, we don't have to double every possession, but when we do, it's going to be surprise. We're going to do it at the nail. We're going to do it whenever you don't expect it. The first dribble, you pick up your dribble, we're going to double immediately. Because Eric Spoelstra loves, mix it up. He doesn't love to just throw out doubles like that. Because I think that's what Miami might do tonight if Giannis plays. If not, I think it's just going to be straight up a lot of switching with Bam at the 5, obviously. And they're not going to bring in Cody Zeller off the bench. Unless they bring in Hayward Highsmith, then I could see, I switch everything as well with that. But, other than that, if Cody Zeller's coming off the bench, they're going to go to a drop whenever he comes in. But I think Miami's going to stick to their game plan, force Milwaukee to be the first to make an adjustment, and then you counter whatever they have in their back pocket. So that's a sign of a series as well. A series is always about who makes the first adjustment, who makes the second one, and who, counters with their best punch. So it's really about Miami's going to see what Milwaukee does, and then Miami's going to counter with whatever they have.
Now, something I really liked in the last game, Bam Adebayo really wasn't going off too much in the first half, but in that third quarter, he really started to just take that mid-range jumper every time they gave it to him. And that was something that I was excited to see, because that's the shots that you're going to need to, you're going to need every bit of offense from the team that you can get. And if Bam Adebayo can continue to hit those little inside the paint jumpers that he was taking a lot, then got away from, but if he can start doing that again, I feel like that's another big key, especially on the offensive end of the court. As far as this goes. So let's get to our prize picks. Obviously, guys, you want to make sure that you go to prizepicks.com, use that promo code 5, spell it out, FIVE. We'll match your initial deposit up to $100, and that's up to 20 free players. So if you're doing basketball, that's a quarter of a season of free plays on 5 Reason. And then also on top of that, you got flex play as well. So even if you don't get a straight parlay, you can still make 25% of your money on top of what you put in. So that way you're always winning. So like I said, you go to prizepicks.com, use that promo code 5. We'll match your initial deposit up to $100. That way you're maximizing your money. So let's take a look at the board. I'm going to go ahead and pull it up. But I always like the Jimmy above the free throws no matter what as far as this point goes. So
what's he at? Is he at 8?
8. Let's see. He's at...
They've been putting him at 8 pretty often. That's been the number.
7.5. So
7.5. Okay. So again, here's what I would consider here. I'm expecting Milwaukee to get a friendlier whistle in game 2, just because that's how these series play out. Typically, we've already seen it in the Knicks-Cavs series and in the Clippers-Suns series. Once the road team gets game 1, everything kind of shifts towards the home team to even it up in game 2. So I don't know that I would play him over 7.5. I would play, honestly, I would play some of his other numbers tonight. I feel like the rebounding number for him would be a good number. I feel like the assist number, and I know people say, well, he doesn't have Hero to pass to. And yes, I think actually Jimmy's assist, it was second most went to Tyler, or second or third most. But also Tyler handles a lot. And now you've taken another ball handler off the floor. If Duncan's going to play instead of Tyler, Duncan's getting off the ball. You're just running dribble handoffs if you're running anything at all. So I actually think the ball is going to be in Jimmy's hands a little bit more. So I might play him over. I think was it 6 assists there. I might play him over. I might play him over on the assist tonight. And the thing you mentioned about Bam is really important here. Look, it strikes me that Bam doesn't start to really get aggressive until he looks around and sees there's nobody else. Like, this has been a consistent pattern here over the last 3 years. we've talked about it. Like when Jimmy's out, when somebody's in foul trouble, when he doesn't have to, then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second, I'm a max guy. I got to do this thing offensively now. We saw it the other night. So I would play most of Bam's overs tonight. The 20 points. I think the rebounding number looks pretty good to me. But again, I think a lot of this you have to say, are the Heat going to be in position to win this game? And we'll get to this in a second, but I don't have a great feeling about it just because of the way these series tend to work. And because if Giannis does play tonight, there's going to be an emotional rush from him just being out there. And then I also think, when you look at a guy like Tyler, it's one thing to get past it for a half. It's another thing when you got 2 days to deal with it and it kind of sinks in. And I just wonder if there's going to be a little bit of a letdown for the Heat tonight. First, they already got game one, so they got their split. And second, I mean, they know deep down that they didn't really have enough to make a deep advance in the playoffs anyway, and now they've lost their third best player. So I wonder psychologically tonight. So I might be playing some of the unders tonight, but I kind of do like the Bam unders overs, and I would play the Jimmy assist over tonight.
Anything that you see, Marco, as well? I'll put the Jimmy, because we got, like I said, Jimmy assists, Bam points. We'll put the Bam rebounds there as well. Marco, anything you see on either Milwaukee side or Miami side that you want to take a look at? We have, Drew Holiday, Grayson Allen, some of those guys. For Miami, we have Max Strus was subbing in for the Tyler Hero spot, so they have a lot of props for him. They have Gabe Vincent as well, some Kyle Lowry. So anybody in particular you want to take a look at?
Do they have Chris Middleton's? I guess that's the one guy I'm looking at to go over. They don't?
Do they not? That would
they have to. No, they have to. Hold on, slide down.
They definitely have to. Probably the bottom.
Right. By the way, I'll play the Drew assists over whatever they are. What are they? 7.5 tonight? Oh, it's funny. I got them at 6 the other night. They're at 7.5 tonight. Little more. He had 8. Wait, more than that. He had
14.
He had 14. Yeah, he had 8 by the end of the first half.
Yeah.
I still play it over, but yeah, PrizePicks is adjusting a little bit, but yeah, I would play it over. They got to have Middleton props, no?
Yeah, they do. They're at the bottom.
Okay. Yeah, I was going to go over because I feel like they're going to go to him, especially if Giannis isn't right. Even if he's playing, they're going to be probably a little more cautious and go more to Chris Middleton. And he kills Miami, so honestly, Miami doesn't really have anybody tall enough to guard him outside of Bam or Jimmy. And I feel like they're going to keep Jimmy on Drew Holiday and have Bam be the roamer. So I'd be very tempted to play Chris Middleton over on points, especially because Miami really doesn't have anybody to guard him if they're going to have Jimmy on Drew, which I feel like they're going to have for most of the series.
And then another prop that I like is the 3.5 free throws made. Like Ethan said, they're going to get a friendly whistle. If Chris Middleton gets a mismatch, like he is a good paint killer. He has really good footwork. He pivots really well, and he draws contact. So I do like the over 3.5 because good at the clip of the line. I'm pretty sure he'll make or get to the line at least twice. The cool thing, like I said, guys, with the flex play, if you get all 5 correct, you'll 10 times your money. Even if you get 1 wrong, you'll 2 times your money. So make sure that you use that. Hey, you get 3 correct plays, you still get some of your money. So you make sure you use that flex play. You make sure you use that promo code 5. Maximize your money here with 5 reasons. So let's get into predictions, guys. Marco, I'll let you kick it off. Ethan, I'll let you take us home. Marco, how you feeling about tonight?
Just when I think I'm out, they pull me back in, I swear. I think they're going to take it tonight. I honestly haven't been as excited about a Heat game since probably the home opener. So honestly, it's been a while, and I kind of feel like they know that if they take this one tonight, that they're very primed to take this whole series. And I feel like they're going to come out guns a-blazing. Again, it's going to be about who's going to make the three. So Milwaukee, who was a really good three-point shooting team all year, Miami, who wasn't, all of a sudden becoming a good one after the All-Star break. If they make 12 or more threes tonight, I feel like they have a win in the bag. And if Milwaukee, they put up a lot of threes, but again, Miami wants that. They want them to put up a lot of threes. They don't want anybody in the paint. That's been their MO all season. Eric Spoelstra's MO since he became the Heat head coach, pretty much. So I'm going to take the Heat by 4. I feel like we're going to get a clutch game, and we're going to see a Jimmy masterclass.
This one's a hard one for me, obviously, because sorry to cut you off, Ethan. Obviously,
no, go ahead. I'm curious where you go here because that may be a tiebreaker.
There's also Milwaukee had a historically bad not historically, but season worst 3-point shooting. Miami had close to season bests on a lot of their shooting as well. And like you said, if they get Giannis back, you get that injection. The crowd was dead after he got injured. Like that crowd was completely out of the game. That took a lot of the wind out of the building. So I think that's really a heavily involved factor is if Giannis comes back. So I do think if there's no Giannis, the Miami pair will outduel the pair that Milwaukee has, and I do think that we'll get enough from the three-point shooting that's been able to kind of correct itself towards the end of the season. But I think if Giannis comes back, it'll be a lot harder for us to defend and match up with that offensively. And if we're going to have to build a wall with Giannis versus not Giannis, it's going to force our shooters to make easier shots versus the tougher contested ones that we had in game one. Ethan, how you feeling about this one?
Yeah, I'm leaning towards the Bucks here, and it's just some of the reasons you're talking about it. But also, I mean, that was a real outlier offensive game for Miami. Like we talk about it being a good game. It was their fifth best. The play-in games, for some reason, Basketball Reference doesn't count them because the league, I guess, doesn't count them. But if you look at 83 games this season, that was the fifth best offensive rating that the Heat have put up. It was the best pace that they put up the entire season, which is something I think they'll try to replicate tonight. But I think Milwaukee will be more ready for it. Miami surprised me with how they were trying to get into early offense, especially in the first half. And their shooting metrics were best their entire season. And we talk about making 12 threes. I'm with Marco on that. But how many are you going to have to take? I mean, they took 25 in the last game. That's a pretty low number for them, actually. They made 15, though. Like, I mean, that is you talk about an outlier. Like, I mean, to make 12, typically they need to take 40. To be able to get anywhere near there because they've been about 30% most of the season. So I'm going to say that the Bucks win tonight. I think Miami can get a split at home, but I think we're going to feel the Tyler thing more than people are anticipating. He was such a key. I had him as the key to the series because you kind of know what you're going to get from Jimmy. Bam, okay, at some points there's going to be aggressiveness. But Tyler against the drop, and it was working. I mean, he had 12 points early, and it was like, okay, this is what he can give you. They don't have that guy. Strus, Duncan, they don't give that sort of mid-range element where you can get kind of into the teeth of the defense, and when they drop, take advantage of it with a floater or take advantage of it with a 12-foot midi. They don't have that right now. And so I just, and Vic's not that guy. I think they hoped that Vic would be that guy at this point. He's not, and he's just not applying rim pressure. So I'm gonna go with Milwaukee tonight, but I've been wrong a lot lately on this. I've been right on PrizePicks. Trail me on PrizePicks. The bets for the games I'm way off, but you can play those at better edge. But I'm gonna say that the Bucks win tonight.
The only caveat on that, one guy who hasn't really shown it all season, but did a little bit last game, Gabe Vincent can fill a little bit of that role as far as that pull-up shooting. He has the bag. Like you've seen him, be able to, especially I think it was a Chicago game where he was, able to get inside of the paint, get those floaters, hit those pull-up threes. So I know he hasn't given it to us all season, but he did have a decent outing when Tyler went out last game as well. So look to Gabe to maybe fill up some of those offensive roles, get some of those threes. He was able to hit the dagger at the end of the game that Jimmy was beautifully assisted falling out of bounds. But guys, like I said, make sure you guys follow everybody here on Twitter. Make sure you guys follow everybody on social media. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and use our PrizePicks. Use that promo code 5. Spell it out FIVE. You see on the bottom of the screen, we got the Playback. Go to playback.com /5 or playback.tv /5 RSN. And appreciate you guys checking.
Is this Marco's debut there tonight? It is the debut of Marco Romo on Playback tonight. So check that out. We'll be swapping quarters tonight, but we'll all be on there at some point. So
if you want to learn something from basketball, listen to Marco watch some basketball. So appreciate you guys. Let's go Heat, and we'll catch you guys after the game.